السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على أشرف المخلوقين سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Inshallah, we'll be continuing from Surah Al-Mulk, the surah that we started last week. And we talk about the importance of this surah. And we said we have some ahadith sahihah that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam encouraged us to recite this surah. And he told that this surah could be a shafi' for a person, although this surah is only 30 ayahs, subhanallah. Sometimes we may start thinking about why this specific surah, why not the other surah? And we may find some answers that we'll find certain surahs talk about the certain topics. But remember, any surah, it's the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Quran, the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we cannot say this surah is good and this surah is not good. It's all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every single part of this Quran, from Al-Fatiha to An-Nas, right? All of it is the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the same level. And that's what we have to understand. You cannot say these words are okay and these words, no. The entire Quran is a mu'jiza. The entire Quran, from subhanallah, from Al-Fatiha to An-Nas. And we don't compare, do ayahs and say this surah is better than this surah. Not in that sense. But certain surahs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that in this surah there are certain secrets that we have no idea why. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for whatever reason, and for whatever His hikmah, He is the creator of everything. But He gives tafdeel to a certain thing over something else, although we don't know why. He created all the creatures, and He created the human being, and He honored the human being more than all the other creatures. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. Allah said, we favor and we honor the children of Adam. It could be for many reasons, subhanallah. So sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a reason. And sometimes He doesn't. And that's from the unseen and from the unknown. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep that knowledge for Himself. So we shouldn't go sometimes too far and then trying to say, oh, this is just because of this. Only if Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam give us this instruction, then of course, He's as-sadiq al-masduq alladhi la yantiqu anil hawa. He's the one who says the truth and he doesn't speak from his desires. So we know now that Surah Al-Mulk, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us through Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam that it has this kind of characters that is better than anything else. Or it will intercede for a person on the Day of Judgment. And I mentioned last time, and I said more than 90% or 90-something% of the hadith that talks about the value, the importance of certain surahs are not true, are all not authentic. And we have only few of them which is narrated really from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, like Al-Baqarah. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam told us, "Iqra'u az-Zahrawan, read the two flowers." And Rasulullah told us that Ayatul Kursi is the greatest ayah in the Quran. Surah Al-Fatiha is the greatest surah in the Quran, right? Khawatim al-Baqarah, it is a treasure from under the treasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rasulullah used to do what we call ta'weed, but not the way that we are writing in the paper, which is that's not allowed. That is actually haram. But Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam yu'awwidhu bihima. He used actually to do ta'weed orally, not with the papers of course, because they are called al-mu'awwidatain. To who? To his grandsons Al-Hasan wal-Hussein. And he said, Rasulullah, this is what Ibrahim used to do, alayhi salam, to Ishaq and Ismail, subhanallah. So we know from his practice that certain things were used for certain ways. And whatever Rasulullah did, that is called shari. We are allowed to do it. But whatever he didn't do it, we cannot do it. And if we do that according to our desires or as a business, then it becomes either a bid'ah or worse, subhanallah. So let me go back again. So Surah Al-Mulk, one of the surahs, and we talk about it, talk about in the beginning how it is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator, created the death and the life, and we are in a test, who is better, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the heavens, and you don't see any deficiency in the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we move to the ayah number 5, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَّا السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيَا بِمَصَابِيحِ زينا السماء الدنيا بمصابيح وجعلناها رجوما للشياطين وأعتدنا لهم عذاب السعير وللذين كفروا بربهم عذاب جهنم وبئس المصير. This ayah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَقَدْ indeed زَيَّنَّا السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيا بِمَصَابِيحِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here talks about the stars. And He said that He created the stars and He put them in the heavens, in the sky, in the sama of the dunya, in the first heaven that we see around us. And He said He created, and there are two reasons for this creation, at least. Number one, He said, زَيَّنَّا. So it's a zina, to beautify the sky. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us it is actually zina. And of course, so beautiful when you see the stars shining, right? Especially when you are in the outskirts of any city, on a place where there's no buildings, no light, and you see how beautiful is that, subhanallah. So number one is the zina, beautiful. Number two, وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينَ. And he says zina bimasabih. The word masabih is the plural of misbah. The misbah is any kind of tool that we use for light. So for example, this lighting, it's called misbah, but this is electric one. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He put natural one, masabih, that gives light, right? In the night, subhanallah. And the people are using when they're traveling for many reasons, subhanallah. So, zina and masabih, zina and masabih. So they are for beauty, and also it gives light. وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينَ. And that's one of the unseen things. Allah said these stars, we made it as rujuman. It's a plural form again. Rajama yarjumu is to stone. So He said when we go to, subhanallah, for Hajj, we stone the shaitan. In the jamarat, the first one, the second one, the third one. Right? So we know it's something called stoning. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, we made this kind of masabih, these stars that He created as a zina and as a masabih, جَعَلْنَاهَا what? رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينَ. Also, rujuman, stoning the shayateen. And that is something of the unseen. What do we mean by that? By the way, when we say shayateen, it's a plural form of shaitan. Do we have only one or a lot? We have a lot. What do we mean by that? Well, any kind of jinn who is not a Muslim is what? Is a shaitan. So Iblis is the shaitan. So all the dhurriya of Iblis are called shayateen or are called jinn. Make it simple. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam. He created him from clay, right? Which is all of us. And He created Iblis, and He created him from what? From fire. And He said that Himself when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked him, why did you not prostrate to what I told you? He said, قَالَ خَلَقْتَنِي مِن نَارٍ وَخَلَقْتَهُ مِن طِينٍ. So he responded to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he said to him, you created me from fire, and you created him from clay. So that's actually Iblis thought about the afdaliyah, that he's better than Adam, because he is created from fire, and Adam just being created from clay. So we know now that Iblis was created from fire. And anything which is created from fire, actually it's a jinn. In another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains that and say, خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ صَلْصَالٍ كَالْفَخَّارِ وَخَلَقَ الْجَانَ مِنْ مَارِجٍ مِنْ نَارٍ. So He said, خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانِ, created the human being from what? From kind of clay, right? A mixture of clay if you want. That's the human being, Adam and all the children of Adam. And from the other side, وَخَلَقَ الْجَانِ, He created al-jinn. Right? Jan is the plural form also for jinn. وَخَلَقَ الْجَانَ مِن مَارِجٍ مِن نَارٍ, from a mixture of fire. So we know now, jinn was created from fire. That's Iblis also. So anything which is created from fire are the dhurriya, the children of Iblis. So we are the dhurriya of Adam. Jinn is the dhurriya of Iblis, as shaitan. Among them, they are good and bad. Just like among the dhurriya of Adam, there's good and bad. Right? Kafir and mu'min. Right? This ayah, it tells us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He created those stars also as rujuman li shayateen, stoning the shayateen. By the way, whenever we use the word jinn, we could use it in a positive or negative way. It could be a good jinn, it could be a bad jinn. But when you say shaitan, it means definitely is a bad jinn. In Arabic language, shaitana, shaitanu, someone who will disturb. Even in the Arab culture, when someone doing a lot of mischief, or even a little kids who moves a lot and he disturbs everyone, say he's shaitan, he's like a shaitan. It doesn't mean he is shaitan as an evil, no, but his action that disturbing. And that's what the shaitan does. He disturbs the people in their prayers, in their niyyah, in their amal, and so on. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينَ. The proof of that also, and this is the beauty when you read the parts of the Quran from this side and the side, Al-Quran يُفَسِّرُ بَعْضُهُ بَعْضًا. Some of the Quran explain the other parts of the Quran. We know from the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he went to Ta'if, and after he had this very bad experience and he was going back again to Mecca, right? And he was rejected, but he stayed in the garden of a certain person, and this servant Addas came and gave him some fruit or some grapes. But after that he continued his way, and he stopped by a valley, that valley called Valley of Jinn, Wadi Abqar. In Arabic language, again, the word Abqari means genius, but also it means shaitan if you want. So that valley, Arabs used to think that jinn lives in that valley. So when they passed by, Rasulullah was there and he was reciting the Quran. When he was reciting the Quran, subhanallah, the ayat were revealed to him, telling him what? That some jinns were listening to you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the beginning of Surah Al-Jinn, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, قل أوحي إلي أنه استمع نفر من الجن فقالوا إنا سمعنا قرآنا عجبا يهدي إلى الرشد فآمنا به ولن نشرك بربنا أحدا. Look at this very first one or two ayahs. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, say, O you Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, say to the people, قُلْ أُوحِيَ إِلَيَّ. It was revealed to me as a wahi. To who? To Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. قُلْ أُوحِيَ إِلَيَّ أَنَّهُ إِسْتَمَعَ نَفَرٌ مِنَ الْجِنِّ. Nafar, a group of jinn, استمع, they were listening. استمع نفر من الجن فقالوا. They listened to who? They were listening to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam while he was reciting the Quran. So when the jinn heard the Quran, they also start talking to each other. فقالوا, they said, إِنَّا سَمِعْنَا قُرْآنًا عَجَبًا. We heard an amazing Quran. يَهْدِي إِلَى الرُّشْدِ فَآمَنَّا بِهِ. It guiding to the rushd, to the right path. فَآمَنَّا بِهِ. And we believe in it. وَلَن نُشْرِكَ بِرَبِّنَا أَحَدًا. And we're not going to have a partner with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he continued the surah to tell about that a group of jinn believes in it, a group of jinn did not believe in it, and so on. Going back again. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said over here, وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَّا السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيَا بِمَصَابِيحَ وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينَ. In Surah, again, Surah Al-Jinn, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks, He said about the jinn themselves, when they listened to the Quran, they said, وَإِنَّا كُنَّا نَقْعُدُ مِنْهَا مَقَاعِدَ لِلسَّمْعِ فَمَنْ يَسْتَمِعِ الْآنَ يَجِدْ لَهُ شِهَابًا رَصَدًا. Jinn, when they were talking to each other, they said, وَإِنَّا كُنَّا نَقْعُدُ مِنْهَا مَقَاعِدَ لِلسَّمْعِ. The jinn, they said to each other, we used to sit, we used to have maqa'id, we used to have places where we were sit, where in the heavens, مَقَاعِدَ لِلسَّمْعِ, we used to sit and listen. According to the scholars and the mufassirin, they said, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used to give the orders to the angels, right? And the angels received the orders from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for whatever could be in this world, right? The jinns, the angels, they talk to each other. So some of the jinns who were sitting there, sometimes they catch one word, one sentence, whatever. So what they do, they take it and they go down to the earth. And that's how the magicians used to claim that they know the unseen. Why? Because one catch from here, one catch from here. They give them some right information, some wrong information, some half information. They mix it up and they make it look like that's the truth. And that's why sometimes I went to this guy and he told me, yes, that could be possible. That could be possible. But they don't know the unseen. They know something which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the angels were talking to each other. But what about now? Is it still happening? No. This ayah also, which is clarify this and acknowledge this, acknowledge that jinn used to sit in places in the heaven and talk to each other, right? That they receive information or they catch information. وَإِنَّا كُنَّا نَقْعُدُ مِنْهَا مَقَاعِدَ لِلسَّمْعِ. We used to sit in those places in order to listen, to hear. فَمَنْ يَسْتَمِعِ الْآنَ يَجِدْ لَهُ شِهَابًا رَصَدًا. But Allah said, now, فَمَنْ يَسْتَمِعِ الْآنَ, whoever sit there to listen, يَجِدْ لَهُ شِهَابًا رَصَدًا. You will find shihab, which is fire. It will throw them. It will kick them out. So we know now, after the Bi'tha, the coming of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, this jinn who used to sit and listen, they were not allowed anymore. And this is one of the miracles of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, or the birth or the coming of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that the jinns were not allowed in the first heaven to listen to any of the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or to the angels when they talk to each other. And who said that? Actually, jinns said that themselves. And this Quran, when it talks about the conversation of jinns among themselves, and that's what the ayah says. وَإِنَّا كُنَّا نَقْعُدُ مِنْهَا مَقَاعِدَ لِلسَّمْعِ. Indeed, we use, that's in the past tense, the verb kana in the past tense. كُنَّا نَقْعُدُ مِنْهَا. We sit in it to listen, to catch word. فَمَنْ يَسْتَمِعِ الْآنِ. Whoever listens, يَشِدْ لَهُ شِهَابًا رَصَدًا. He will find shihab, rasa, will really target that jinn, and he will go after him and fire him. We may ask this question, shihab rasad. Shihab is fire, actually, or something which is burning. Somebody would say, okay, if jinn is made already of fire, so how fire will affect them? And this is, again, an argument which is some of the scholars narrate something similar, which has happened to Imam Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah, in his lifetime, that he sat with a group of atheists, and they challenged him also. They challenged him with these very specific questions. They told Imam Abu Hanifa, you claiming that God is the creator, we never saw this God. So you have any proof that God exists, that he created this world? This world is just like that. It made by itself. Like, let's say, the Big Bang theory that a lot of people believe in. And then he said, and if this God exists, right? If this God exists and he is the creator, right? And he is the one who does everything, why he is blaming us if he is the creator of everything? If Allah is the one who made me making such thing, why he is going to put me accountable for something? And the last question that they ask him, they say, your Quran or your Prophet says that shaitan will be burned in the fire in the hereafter, but he is made of fire. That's not going to even do anything to him. According to this story, which is mentioned about Abu Hanifa, but in some of the books they narrate the same story for some other scholars, but it's just the concept of the story itself. So Imam Abu Hanifa told him, okay, give me a little time, I will come tomorrow, I will talk to you after Asr prayer. Well, we're going to meet in a certain place. So this group of atheists, they were waiting for him, but he was late. He was very late. Finally, when they were about to leave, Imam Abu Hanifa came and they saw him say, it looks like you couldn't find the answer. That's why you took so long, or you were probably planning not to come. He said, not really. I was really planning to come, but I had some issue. When I came, I had to cross the river. You know, he lived in Iraq, which is the river there. So I had to cross the river between my home and you guys. When I came to the shore of the river, there was no boat. And I was waiting and waiting. There's no boat. Nobody is coming. And he said, okay, then how you came? I said, all of a sudden, I don't know, some storm, some wind, very strong, and I see the trees were like breaking by itself, and then those trees were being assembled by itself, and the branches were making like ropes and tying those trees, and made out of that a nice boat. And that boat, it just went to the river. When I saw that, I jumped in the boat, and the wind was so good, it brought me to you. They say, you're making fun of us. How this is possible? Wind and trees and being cut in a such perfect way and being assembled, being put in the... at least have some respect for our uqul. We're not going to accept that. He said, yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you with that. It is really almost impossible. But actually, you claiming this whole universe was being made with a big explosion. And you accept that. How a human being is made, animals were made, insects made, stars made, the sun, the moon, that's possible. But for a little wind that makes this, you're not accepting that? Logically, if you're refusing the first one, you refuse the second one. So there's definitely someone behind all this, subhanAllah. And the second one, the Imam Abu Hanifa, again, or whoever did that, he probably took a little bit of sand and actually purposely, intentionally, he threw them with that. And then they were again so kind of angry, say, Imam, we know you're a respectful person, but you don't show that. He said, I am just acting the way you said. If you are claiming, according to you, that God is the one who made everything, and you should not be accountable for your action, you should not also put me accountable for what I do right now to you. It is God who made me do that to you. Will you accept it? They said, no. We know that you are the one who did it, so you are the one to be responsible. Well, he said that's the same apply for anything. Anyone who committed any sin, he is the one responsible for his action, good or bad. And the last one, which came here, they said again, the last one, subhanAllah, they say, you know what? When I took the sand and I hit you with it, you get hurt. But you were created also from sand. So how a human being, if you made a piece of clay and you hit him with the clay, he will get hurt. We know that for sure. Well, that's the same for the shaitan. If he is made of fire, he could be also hurt with the fire, subhanAllah. Going back, the concept of the story. The story could be true, may not be true, but the concept itself, it is valid, subhanAllah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَا السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيا بِمَصَابِيحَ وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينَ وَأَعْتَدْنَا لَهُمْ عَذَابَ السَّعِيرِ. And we prepare for them adhab, punishment of sa'ir, of the hellfire. وَلِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ عَذَابُ جَهَنَّمْ وَبِئْسَ الْمَصِيرِ. And whoever disbelieves in his Lord, definitely he will have the adhab of Jahannam. We say the word Jahannam, by the way, it's one of the names of the hereafter, of the punishment in the hellfire. وَبِئْسَ الْمَصِيرِ. Such a bad ending. إِذَا أُلْقُوا فِيهَا سَمِعُوا لَهَا شَهِيقًا وَهِيَ تَفُورُ. Now, it's a kind of description. You know, if you want to make out a movie out of this, you could make it. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described using words, how the hellfire looks like, how it sounds, subhanAllah, how if you see it. He said, إِذَا أُلْقُوا فِيهَا. Once they threw this kind of non-believers in the hellfire, سَمِعُوا أُلْقُوا فِيهَا. They are in it. سَمِعُوا لَهَا. They will hear what? شَهِيقًا. You know, it's like someone breathing heavily. That's called shahiq, subhanAllah. وَهِيَ تَفُورُ. It's like burning, boiling, subhanAllah. تَكَادُ تَمَيَّزُ مِنَ الْغَيْظِ. Again, it's all, and this is one of the thing that made the Arabs, especially the poets, very much impressed by the Quran. It's about the structure of the Quran, how it's being made. It's again a small picture. He said, تَمَيَّزُ مِنَ الْغَيْظِ. Al-Ghayr in Arabic language is the extreme anger. Is the extreme anger. When you see a person so angry, his eyes are burning, you feel like that person just want to eat you. You say, oh, I saw his eyes, I'm just scared. Well, the Quran describes Jahannam in that way. He says, تَمَيَّزُ مِنَ الْغَيْظِ. It's like the anger of Jahannam. It feels like, you know what? كلما ألقي فيها فوج سألهم خزنتها ألم يأتكم نذير. And whenever a group of the non-believers are being thrown in the hellfire, خزنتها. Khazana is the plural form. Al-Khazin is the one in charge, the guard if you want. سألهم خزنتها. Once they threw them in the hellfire, they asked them, ألم يأتكم نذير. Nobody came to warn you about this Jahannam. You lived all your life, you never know about it. You never know that this is going to be your destiny. قالوا بلى. And you see now the Quran, the way I read, discussion, dialogue between the people, between the khazana, the guards of Jahannam, and the people of the hellfire. قالوا بلى. Indeed, قد جاءنا نذير. Yeah, some warner came to us. They cannot deny that. The people of Lot, they will say, yeah, Lot came. The people of Noah, they will say Noah came. The people of Salih, they will say that. The people of Hud, the people of any nation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send them someone. وَمَا مِنْ أُمَّةٍ إِلَّا خَلَا فِيهَا نَذِيرٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, indeed every nation will send them someone to warn them. Nadir is the opposite of Bashir. So the Bashir is the one who comes with the news or the good news. Nadir is the one who comes with the bad news, warning you. قالوا بلى قد جاءنا نذير. If that's the case, then why didn't you believe? فكذبنا, we denied them, we accused them for lying. وقلنا ما نزل الله من شيء. Allah didn't send anything. إن أنتم إلا في ضلال كبير. Indeed you, those messengers and prophets that they were sent to the people, we told them, oh, you are being in just big misguidance. وقالوا لو كنا نسمع أو نعقل ما كنا في أصحاب السعير. Now all of us, the human being, two of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He favored us with is the sama' and the aql. I can hear and I can understand. And if you don't have these two, I don't know how you'll be accountable in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We know, for example, anyone who has mental problems, he is not even accountable that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about the salat, about the siyam, right? So they said to themselves, قالوا لو كنا نسمع أو نعقل. If we used to know, we used to listen very well and used to have the aql. Because now look at, again, when we go to the East, you say, why you not believe? You say, my aql doesn't accept this. Doesn't accept that there's something called God. Doesn't accept that there's something called angels hereafter. They don't want to accept it. But then they will say, oh, if we know, if we really believe, if we really think, we would not be ما كنا في أصحاب السعير. We would not be in this burning hellfire. فاعترفوا بذنبهم. They acknowledge their sins, their mistake. فسحقا لأصحاب السعير. Such a disaster, a destroying situation for the people of the Sa'ir. That's up to ayah number 11. We're going to stop over here because the next ayah, it will be talking about the believers, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all of us. Wa astaghfirullah wa lakum wa jami'al mu'minin. If you have any comments or questions, inshallah.
Once you say that you will memorize it, read it, there is the forgiveness of.
Yes. We have a hadith which is sahih, by the way, that Rasulullah said, and this hadith is many of the sahih books, that he said, inna suratan, a surah, of only 30 ayahs, shafa'at li sahibiha. It did shafa'at to the sahib of that surah, until it would take him to Jannah. In that case, we don't know if that person used to read it every day. He memorized it. So, but we know that this surah of these 30 ayahs, it will help, inshallah. So some they say you're supposed to memorize it. Some they say you read it, like you have, usually you read it. And again, it's only 30 ayahs, inshallah. Yes? Done? خير إن شاء الله. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت ولا يموت بيده الخير وإليه المصير وهو على كل شيء قدير وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.